There's a lot of push right now for agents to think about what the independent channel offers in 2026, especially, I will say, from my time here, seeing markets start to open up and seeing the opportunity actually for direct appointments, where I think that there's always been a massive value add to an agent that was looking at leaving a captive environment and starting an independent agency, even if it was purely based on the fact that, hey, if I have 10 or 15 more years in this business, the resale value of my agency is going to be so exponentially greater if I grow it in the independent channel now. It's worth it for my business to move on to my kids or for my retirement to move and to start over here. But also now we're starting to see there's actually direct contracts available for people that can come over and produce. And I think that that's a huge indication that people should be looking.
I think one of the things that, some of the entrepreneurs that I've met with don't contemplate this, and I think it's something that everybody should, but it would be what's your goal associated with building your company? Is it going to have a legacy aspect to them, or are you going to perpetuate within a family member? Is that the goal for you to create generational wealth to a certain extent? So that's why it's like, okay, there's a great leverage with a captive or a franchise type model where you can build up, and within the franchise type world, your goal is to have 3 or 4 of them to replicate and build that, and then eventually have people manage to get to where you're less involved. That's not a bad model, but when you think about legacy and kind of setting that up, you're building somebody else's legacy when you're in. This is my opinion. You're building somebody else's legacy within a captive versus your own.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
So then it's pretty safe to say now is definitely. Let me ask a question rather than making a statement. So, is it still worth it to look at stepping into the captive world, knowing all the upside that there is with the independent side?
See, therein lies one of the struggles I would have if I was new to insurance, completely new, because I will. Let me give some credence or some kudos to the captive. Their training, their education, their resources there do make for very strong swimmers or very strong business-minded individuals. Because when you have only one avenue, like you have to make that avenue work. Versus when you have the option of choice, I'm ADHD. Like I'm going to get distracted. It's just naturally going to happen. And I also am a proud proponent of the military. That is not a very ADHD friendly. There's like, no, this is your job. You do this. And I thrive in that environment too. But
no, that really helps ADHD.
That helped me. Yes,
it takes out all the options.
But I would argue, and yes, it does. I would say that structure though, at the beginning, was instrumental in my success and how I push myself, how I motivate myself. And so I'm almost. And I know this is sound weird for an independent guy, I would almost say cut your teeth on the captive, and then when you're ready, then go independent. Because then you're going to understand the value and the differences between what your product offers versus the 15, 30 other ones that are out there that are going to be competitive for your client. That's my personal.
All right. So then follow-up question to that is I've spent 5 years, 10 years building up my captive book.
Yeah.
Now what? Why do I want to start over?
We got the finger point.
Well, okay, yeah, finger point.
All right, Uncle Sam, tell us.
Okay, I would leverage
Give us
that.
the tea.
I would leverage it. I would say So I think figuring out finding somebody that's starting off in their captive model, selling it to them, really maximizing that buyout, and then leveraging the cash that you have to start over. And if you're selling it to a friend, obviously honor your non-competes. I'm a big proponent of honoring your non-competes.
Even if you're not
selling to your friend, you still honor your non-compete.
Well, that's true. Yes. But it's even worse if you do it to a friend. I'm just saying. I agree. Yes, honor the contract, but you're building relationships and the know-how, the knowledge to build circles of influence to build those deals. And so when you go independent, leave that book alone. Go restart. And I've seen this with an individual producer who's rebuilt his book 3 or 4 times in different agencies. Never wanted to be an agency owner, but he would move And so that was part of it. He wanted to go to a different state. So he would just up and leave and then start over again. That individual producer rebuilt his COIs. He had a plan and a makeup of exactly how to do it. And so it didn't matter. It didn't matter. He would identify 2 niches that he would spend the first year collecting X dates, going after them, building that repetition, and then the following he would add another 2. And he did quite well.
Yeah.
So likewise, coming from the captive, but see, it's not fair because I know more now than I did then. But let's just, for argument's sake, I would sell the agency, I would launch independent, and then I would at that point have the wherewithal to do that. I will say we do have a documented book by one of our members called Leaving Captivity, where he goes through and kind of models out that, I'll shameless plug, it's James Jenkins, who went from a captive to the independent, and he documents a lot of that. And he even says, learn from my mistakes. Don't do what I did. In a captive, you name your agency after yourself. Don't do that. Because on the independent, you're like, I can't market that. If I do want to sell it, the customer comes in, well, I want to talk to Jim Bob. Well, it's Jim Bob's agency. That's who I want to talk to. Well, Jim doesn't work here anymore. Well,
Jim sold 15 years ago.
Yeah. Right.
Jim is retired. Thank you.
15 years ago and you're just now coming in?
So you take it full circle to say, for the right person, it still makes sense to start in the captive side. But
for the right person.
For the right person.
If you have, I will say, if you have significant experience in the types the clients that you want to market to, then I would go independent all day.
Also, I will just give a caveat on my
You can disagree with me about it.
Well, no, I think it's great to your point on somebody that's new to the industry,
I like how
right?
I started my industry in the independent and you started yours in the captive and you have the opposite.
now we're gonna bounce off of it. I think, you talked about some great business owners coming out of it. I think that the people that are extremely business-minded will eventually, captive will be too small. It will be way too constraining. And when they actually look at their business, they will feel the lack of control. And it is only a matter of time before they break those binds.
That's fair.
It really, so if you're a true business owner, now here's what I will say. There are people that are, I don't want to say true, but there are different types that have great growth capacity. And so if your growth capacity is not there, you may be very happy in the captive channel for a long time.
So here's how many captive agents do you know that are generating more north of $1 million in revenue?
Very few. I mean, I think
that's more common in the independent channel.
100%. I mean, coming over here, I think the average size agency was twice as big.
It's going to take it takes a different mindset to get there as well.
And that's where I say the business owner that's going to look at the constraints in the captive channel, they're going to find a way to break it because they see it and they're like, I'm stuck. I'm pigeonholed here, and here.
It makes me cringe thinking that I have to have this size office. I have to have this type. No, let me run my.
They're going to break it, right? Like they're going to find a way to break it. So if that's you and you're finding a way to break it, call us. We're ready. We're waiting for you. But also, I would say, one of the things that I say now, and actually one of a recent person that went independent, and I won't name names. I actually told them. I sat down and apologized with them because I recruited them captive, and I said if I would have known now what I knew then, I would have said you were independent all along because they were embedded in such a deep business community that so much of that business was never going to fit the captive model. And even though they didn't have a ton of insurance experience, if they would have come on with the right group, if they would have come on with the right other agency, they would have had a ramp up and they would be in a totally different version of success because they were embedded in business and the captive environment has a limited amount of commercial opportunities. And that's a really important piece, a really important distinction because if you're going to do high value net worth, if you're going to do a lot of commercial, and we're talking, even just smallish medium commercial. That's not a captive play, truly. It is you want to learn that you're going to learn through personal lines is the captive model. So when you're ready to break out of that and you feel the constraints, we're ready for you.
Absolutely.